Right, welcome back. Let's take a look at our trending topics this morning, and here they are. First up, hashtag Brazil, and that's, of course, with everything that's happening, the storming of the capital in Brazil and some other institutions as well. And this by supporters of the now former president, Jair Bolsonaro. And this has been, of course, likened to what happened in the U.S. Capitol when Donald Trump supporters, of course, went on the rampage. As you can see, some of the visuals from that, and many people speaking to this, but many questions also being asked about the country's security forces and why they seem to have been prepared to deal with this eventuality, given that there was great indication that it would happen on social media at the very least. So this is what happened in Brazil, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And incidentally, it's around the same time that it took place in the U.S. Capitol 2 years ago as well. The next one, hashtag President Cyril Ramaphosa, and this, of course, for various reasons. The president, of course, delivering the January 8th statement of the ANC, and many people speaking to that, but of course also many other things pertaining to that speech, what came out of it, and what the president had to say. This is one of those things that I suppose is a continuation from where we left off last year with President Ramaphosa. I think towards the end of the year, he was basically trending every single day, sometimes higher up, sometimes not so high. But President Cyril Ramaphosa always up there with regard to what South Africans have to say and what they are speaking to in terms of the president and his utterances as well. And of course, much being said about, where the ANC is going as well after this week's the weekend celebrations. The next one is hashtag drugs, and there was a new program that came on one of the television stations, not on SABC yesterday, and had to do with confronting drug dealers. And there's, of course, a great scourge in South Africa, and it's got many Twitterati talking about what's happening in different parts of the country and how a government is not effective in dealing with the scourge. So very interesting that people are saying that people ought to be called out, and they need to be showed up. But many also chiming in saying that the police, unfortunately, are on the take. They often on the payroll of some of these drug dealers, and therefore turning a blind eye to it. But South Africans basically saying, it's enough, because just the effects of this drug scourge is massive. And it kind of reminds me of what we were saying back in the 90s about HIV and AIDS, that, if you are not infected, you are affected. And if you look at this drug scourge right now, so many people and so many young people, unfortunately, addicted or using these drugs. And if they are doing that, unfortunately, the families suffer along with these addicts as well. So that's one that we will have to look into. And finally, the last one is hashtag Afrikaans. Now, interestingly, and I couldn't verify this particular video, but there is a video on the Twitter streets about ANC members who are singing the national anthem, but when they get to the Afrikaans, the stem part of the national anthem, they basically stopped singing, started cheering. And of course, that started a whole conversation around not just that reconciliatory portion of that particular aspect of the national anthem, because remember, we were told that this was added so that we can have more toenadering as a nation towards one another. But then the ANC members themselves and senior members of the party then doing this. Also got people talking about the fact that Afrikaans is a language that is spoken by many people who are not white in South Africa. And that, of course, a very interesting conversation in and of itself around the Afrikaans language. So this is why Afrikaans is trending this morning.